He was such a great husband and such a great dad, and I think that I fell into a situation where I thought that the grass was greener somewhere else.
We always protected our dad because we felt bad for him because he didn't want the divorce. We knew it was my mom's fault, and we were really well aware.
I did have regrets. I thought, wow, what was I thinking? I made a huge mistake. That's like my life's biggest regret.
Kris Jenner ruined her family by cheating on Robert Kardashian. He even hired a private investigator to watch her every move. Once he found her cheating on him, he filed for divorce and a messy legal battle ensued. So let's get into it. I can admit that I'm the worst at signing up for a subscription and then never canceling them when I'm not even using it. But we're going into 2024 and I want to get my expenses right, so I'm using Rocket Money. They are an all-in-one finance platform that helps you save more and spend less. Like I said earlier, Rocket Money can help you handle your subscriptions. But they don't just find those unwanted plans that you forgot signing up for. They will actually go and cancel your subscription for you, so no dealing with customer service and no more headaches. Their platform has a variety of tools that can help you in many different ways. For example, you can upload your bill to Rocket Money and you can allow them to go and negotiate a lower cost on your behalf. You can use this feature on internet bills, phone bills, cable, and much more. There are also plenty of other features to help you manage and build your wealth, like setting budgets, managing your credit cards, and even determining your net worth. To save more and spend less, join the over 5 million members on Rocket Money today. Go to rocketmoney.com/Sloan or click the link in the description below to get started for free. You can also unlock even more features using premium. That's rocketmoney.com/Sloan to get started for free. Thank you, Rocket Money, for sponsoring this video, and enjoy. So we talk about the Kardashians and the messy situations they find themselves in. But today I want to go all the way back to where it all began with Robert Kardashian and Kris Jenner. So Rob Kardashian came from a wealthy family in LA, and he was considered Beverly Hills' most eligible bachelor. He actually met Kris Jenner when she was only 17 at a horse race in California back in 1973. Instantly there was a connection, but at the time Kris Jenner was in a committed relationship with a man named Caesar. Caesar was a professional golfer, but at that point he was away at a tournament, so she was alone at this horse race and she met Robert. So their connection started at this tournament, but it didn't stop there despite Kris being in a relationship. They lived near each other, so they started having an affair until one day Oscar actually walked in on Kris and Robert hooking up. Kris was still very young at this point and Robert didn't really take her seriously. So after she and Caesar broke up, Robert still wasn't really interested in actually dating her, so he went on to date Priscilla Presley. It's pretty crazy to think that Robert Kardashian could have ended up with Priscilla Presley, but that relationship ended, so he ended up going back to Kris Jenner, and at this point she was an American Airlines flight attendant. In the beginning they had a fairy tale marriage, and she actually became pregnant on their honeymoon. Then they obviously went on to have 4 kids together: Kourtney, Kim, Khloe, and Robert. Robert Kardashian was a big-time lawyer. He was doing very well for himself and their family. But a little over a decade, the good times ended because the couple eventually divorced. The major reason was because Kris Jenner had an affair in 1989 with a soccer player named Todd Waterman. Robert Kardashian actually found out about the affair because he hired a private investigator to look into what she was doing. The affair is what Kris claims is one of the biggest regrets of her life. When speaking about her split from Robert, she said, "When I look back on it now, probably one of the biggest regrets is that she let that marriage fall apart." She actually wrote about this affair with Todd in her book. Kris wrote, "It made me feel young, attractive, sexy, and alive. Along with these feelings came a wave of nausea. I actually wanted to throw up at the same time because it dawned on me that I had not felt that way with Robert for years." She continued, "I had lost Robert. Suddenly, I realized everything that was great about my marriage. Robert was the greatest in the world. He would never cheat on me. He only wanted the best for me. And that's really unfortunate when there's a good guy like Robert Kardashian who is hardworking, would never cheat on you. And then you've got someone like Kris Jenner who does selfishly cheat on someone. And she's done it time and time again. I mean, it's kind of like the old rule, like you get them how you got them or you lose them how you got them. And keep in mind that Kris Jenner was cheating on her boyfriend with Robert Kardashian and they ended up together. Unfortunately, she cheated on him again. And that's something still the family holds against her. Actually, in 2018, Kourtney Kardashian spoke about Kris cheating on her father on their show. During a conversation with her sisters, Kourtney said, "I don't even think it's even about talking to my mom about it. I think it's like we all have different experiences with my mom, and I think it's not something really that my mom can fix." So there's some feelings about it, but they try to hold back, probably because we all know Kris Jenner is in the wrong here.
You have your own Todd.
No, I actually don't. I'm actually not married.
Right, but
and I'm not having an affair. You can't compare one to the other. That's absolutely not true.
Even though Kris Jenner has acknowledged that this is the biggest regret in her life, she hasn't been able to live it down. I mean, you see how Tristan cheats on Khloe, and Khloe even brought up Kris's affair on the show and asked her, like, how do you do this? How do you have a perfect family with 4 kids and do you throw it away for a selfish, sexual affair? Khloe asked, "What was your mindset when you cheated? When you did that with my dad and you had 4 kids and a family and this whole thing?" Kris blames it on her age at the time. She claims she was very young, a mother of 4, and she says that she didn't really understand the consequences of her actions by cheating on her husband and essentially ruining her family. She says, "I fell into a situation where I thought the grass was greener somewhere else. I made a huge mistake."
I did have regrets. I thought, wow, what was I thinking?
I think being really young and dumb is something that plays into it because you don't really understand the consequences of your actions, because he was such a great husband and such a great dad. And I think that I fell into a situation where I thought that the grass was greener somewhere else.
Even though Robert and Kris were able to maintain a friendship, there were some problems within that friendship, and that involves O.J. Simpson and his ex-wife Nicole. Robert Kardashian was best friends with O.J. Simpson and also his lawyer. Robert actually reactivated his law license so he could go and represent O.J. This 11-month trial strained the Kardashians' relationship and resulted in death threats against their family. There were also problems between Robert and O.J. because Robert and Kris were very good friends with Nicole, O.J.'s ex, and there were a lot of debates on which side to be on, and Kris was on Nicole's side while OJ was represented by Robert. Despite this trial causing rifts for them, they were able to maintain a friendship until Robert had passed away. He died in 2003 of cancer, and she claims that they talked every day, all day long, and helped each other through those times. And it's sad that Robert Kardashian is gone, and I wonder what he would think about what this family has done with their empire, but it is interesting to see how Kris speaks so freely about their relationship, talking about her affair against him, saying that she constantly lied to Robert. She said, "I could not control myself." Robert actually caught her and Todd having breakfast together, and at that point she knew that there was someone following her. She could feel a private detective, which led to huge fights between them. But actually there was a detective following her, and she was caught with Todd 3 different times. So he really caught her in the act, and after that he couldn't resolve their relationship. He wanted to file for divorce because essentially she was unfaithful, and she successfully lied to him, so she could lie and get away with it. She probably could do it again. Kris Jenner now says that everything happens for a reason and we learn from our mistakes. "I thought I was so smart when I was young. I was fearless." Maybe she calls it fearless, but I think it's selfishness. And looking back on interviews, even from 2013 with Oprah, you can see that the Kardashian sisters have a lot of feelings about this affair and what this divorce did to them.
How do you think you were impacted by that time?
I think it definitely affected my relationship. Always in life, we always protected our dad because we felt bad for him because he didn't want the divorce. We knew it was my mom's fault, and we were really well aware. So,
were you aware of the affair at the time?
Yes.
You were?
We were really aware.
I wasn't.
I still wasn't aware until recently, to be honest.
Really?
You weren't aware until when? The book?
Honestly, I swear.
What?
But you were really angry about it.
I think to myself, I'm trying to put myself in her shoes, and I'm like, I would never do that.
Even though their divorce was complicated and it was difficult, I think that's what led to the Kardashian empire, because after she had left Robert, she had a lot of financial security, and then that was all gone. I mean, he was a lawyer, so he was going to make sure she didn't leave with much. They split in 1991, and Kris said, "I didn't know what to do. I had 4 kids. I was single. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't know how I was going to make a living. It was the scariest time to be that young." She was 32 at the time. Their son, Robert Kardashian, was only a year old, and they had split up, so she didn't know what she was gonna do. She was quoted saying, "I woke up one day to responsibilities that I didn't have the day before, and I needed to figure it out. And the good news is I pay attention. I'm a quick study, and I knew how to get it together."
When I was going through a divorce, my husband had been paying the bills, and I didn't really understand the magnitude of what was really going on, and I felt really dumb. We sat down and made a plan, and that was the moment that I felt like a light bulb went off, and I clicked and thought, okay, I need to know how to handle my own business. I need to know, as a woman, what's going on in my own house. Just the attitude of know what's going on, work hard, build a life for yourself that you're proud of, but just pay attention.
And that's something you can't deny about Kris Jenner. She was able to do a lot of things that most people cannot do. So she was very organized and calculated. I think that there's 2 sides to the situation, because she also met Robert when she was like 18 or 17, and then 18 they got together, and then she was like 22 when she first started having her kids. So she really didn't have that time to figure out who she was. So when she entered her 30s with her 4 kids, that was her time. She said, "I didn't have anything. I went to the market one day and my credit card didn't work. I had a market credit card and I'm like, I can't even buy a tomato." And I kind of understand where Robert's coming from, because if that was my partner and she had been cheating on me and I'd given her everything, I wouldn't want to give her anything more to take away. Though I'm sure he always made sure that his kids were okay and taken care of. When he was diagnosed with cancer in 2003, he recently married a woman named Ellen Pearson, but then he was diagnosed with cancer, and 2 months later, he had passed away in July. Once Robert got sick, he didn't have much longer on Earth. I mean, he recently had gotten married. He did not see this coming, and the Kardashian family didn't see it coming as well. And it added to a big part of their storyline when they first started the show, because Kris was still very hung up on his death.
I think that you go through life and you don't want to have any regrets. But I think that the one thing I wish I could take back in many ways was getting a divorce. It was a very selfish thing to do when I look back on it. And I'm so sorry for, ruining that perfect union that we had. I feel like you still probably carried some of that pain with you when you got sick. And the one thing that I'll never be able to change is that I wasn't there for you. And I'll always live with that guilt and that pain. And I'm really sorry. And I'll always love you.
It actually makes me kind of emotional seeing that, because I don't know, it's just like relationships and love and death. I mean, it's all so hard to take in. I think everyone can kind of relate to what Kris is feeling, even if you haven't like gone through it yourself. It's like an emotional regret, just like this cloud that she probably has over herself, because she had treated him this way and he was such a good guy, and then he was taken far too soon. But then came Bruce Jenner, also known as Caitlyn Jenner nowadays, so we're going to respect her pronouns. That is Kris Jenner's ex-husband, and they started dating actually pretty shortly after the divorce between Robert and Kris. At that point, Kris was actually acting as Caitlyn's like PR manager, getting Caitlyn on, speaking tours and speaking to crowds about their athletic career. At that time, Caitlyn was a big part of Kris healing and being able to function again without Robert in her life. But we all saw how their relationship played out. Bruce transitioned into Caitlyn Jenner. They ended up divorcing, and Kris actually claims that her divorce with Caitlyn was a little bit easier, because at that point she was kind of prepped after being divorced from Robert. Caitlyn has also had her fair share of conversations talking about Robert and with Robert, actually, because Robert was a lawyer. He really went hard on Kris during their divorce, making it very difficult for her. Caitlyn claims that she actually called Robert for a sit-down talk when the family could not get on the same page. Caitlyn says Kris was having a rough time with Robert in the divorce when I came into the picture. He was doing everything to kind of make her life miserable. I saw what was going on from the outside and I said, this is ridiculous. So I called Robert up and I said, hey, let's go to dinner. Caitlin says she leveled with Robert about what was best for the family, pushing for Robert to finalize the divorce from Kris. Caitlin said, I basically said to him, Kris is moving on. Sorry, but she's moving on. I said, I can take over from here. So let's just make this final signing of the papers as simple as possible. And he did.
She was having a rough time with Robert in the divorce when I came into the picture. And so, he was doing everything to kind of make her life miserable. I saw what was going on from the outside and just said, this is, ridiculous.
But that wasn't the only time that Caitlin and Robert spoke. They actually spoke later on when Robert was on his deathbed. Caitlin said that he was really hurting. And I said to him, hey, remember, if I was in your position, my only worry would be for my kids, that the kids are going to get through this. And I just want you to know that I will always be there for the kids, which I guess Caitlin kind of has been. Shortly after Caitlin and Robert had that conversation, Robert had passed away. So unfortunately, that was the end of Kris Jenner and Robert Kardashian. If you guys want to hear more about the OJ trials, I'm so down to cover those, but that wasn't the last time that we saw Robert Kardashian. In 2020, Kim was still good with Kanye, and for her 40th birthday, he actually created a 3D render of Robert Kardashian to give a message to Kim, which was sweet, but also a little bit bizarre.
Happy birthday, Kimberly.
Oh my God.
I am so proud of the woman that you've become, Kimberly. All of your hard work and all the businesses you have built are incredible. But most impressive is your commitment to become a lawyer and carry on my legacy. Know that I am very proud of you, and I'm always with you.
Again, it is sweet because it's like a father-daughter relationship. She's done so much for herself. She probably wishes her father could be there to see it. But the technology part of it's a little bit, we see these celebrities who are so scared of this happening to themselves. So, Robert Kardashian didn't really have a choice there. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.